So this is month 2 of Infinite Frontier, I guess. But this is mostly the same as March with a few new number ones. We'll go through the solicits here and see what's new. Obviously, a lot of the new stuff's at the top. So we'll get in. Obviously, some things are more exciting than others. But we are starting off with the Green Lantern number 1, which makes sense because there was no Green Lantern book announced for March. So this is written by Jeffrey Thorne, who is the writer of the main story in the Future State issue, which we'll be talking about later today. But art by Dexter Soy, which is pretty cool. And this is a $5 book with a backup, and this is John Stewart leading, but joined by Teen Lantern and Joe. So it's an interesting mix of characters in this one.
It's yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe we're getting another one. I mean, as cool as this is to have those characters with John, like, I kind of want, what's Jessica and Simon up to? Right? Like,
yeah, I think we're at a point now with Green Lanterns where there's enough of them, enough human Green Lanterns, 6, 7, 8 if you include Teen Lantern and Joe now at this point, where we're all invested in different ones. So there's almost, no matter who they pick, there's going to be a portion of the Green Lantern fan base who are annoyed that theirs are not the ones to get in the spotlight. So,
which is great when there was 2 books, when you had Green Lantern Corps and Green Lantern, right? Like, you can differentiate. And even like something like Green Lantern Corps could have been a rotating, until Tomasi took it over. That was kind of the idea, there was a rotating cast that they could go through, and then they decided to go make it a companion book to what Jeff Johns was doing in Green Lantern. So, but no, I mean, this is cool. We'll get to thoughts on Thorne's Green Lantern later.
Right, and just a question, Pete. You mentioned there that there's a backup. Where are you seeing that? Because I'm aware it's $5 and there's an increased page count, but there is no mention of a backup. There's no mention of a different team. Nothing in the text.
All right, calm down. I saw $5 and 40. I didn't expect to be grilled by this ginger over here with his magnifying glass out.
No,
I didn't know if you'd seen it in a different article somewhere and it just wasn't in the solicit for some reason.
Jesus Christ! Right, it's got more pages than it's $5. I assume backup because that's what all the other books are doing. That's all.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I wonder if it's just an oversized first issue then, or if it'll be like this.
It might be. Yeah. Amusingly, I don't think this solicit text even mentions Joe. That wasn't a different article though, because the article I saw this announced this on Newsarama did mention Joe as being in the book. So I wonder if maybe a backup starts in issue 2 with Joe, and that's where that's coming into it.
Possibly. Yeah, I'm just skimming that article now. It says the publisher is promising the addition of the Far Sector style later in the series.
Oh, there you go. So, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's maybe not the perfect Green Lantern book that any of us were hoping for. However, that could come later. There's no reason why we can't have a second Green Lantern book in a couple months' time, especially now that Grant Morrison's Reign of Terror has come to an end. So,
Reign of Wonder, maybe.
Oh yeah, says the guy who wouldn't keep up with it to talk about it on the show. Yeah, despite the fact that he liked it so much.
I do like it.
I get that, because there's that's how I feel about Far Sector, but the breaks in between, this will read better.
Well, yeah, but that was only because of the breaks, so that would have been fine. If that stayed monthly, there'd have been no issue with Far Sector.
Yeah, probably.
Right, it was just a case of I fell behind 1 month, and I knew it was kind of, what you're saying there, there was a break. There was like a 2-month break for me, and I just, I fell behind, didn't catch back up in time for the show.
Okay. Well, that's Green Lantern issue 1. So we'll see how that goes. We're getting Robin issue 1, another ongoing series. This is a regular $4 price. This is Joshua Williamson writing with Gleb Melenkov on the art. This is a Damien book. He's got a new outfit. In fact, I think I read that he's got several new outfits, but he's got one in particular here that's on the cover. It's more black with hints of red and grey. So, yeah, I'll read the solicit text for this one. After learning of Dead League of Lazarus tournament, Damian Wayne has a new mission, winning the tournament to prove that he is the greatest fighter in the DC universe. But first he must find the secret island where it's all going down. It sounds like Mortal Kombat. The brand new solo Robin series will force Damian Wayne to find his own path away from both sides of his family. New mysteries, new supporting cast, first appearances of new characters, and lots of fights. Okay.
I'm so here for this.
Well, that definitely fits in with Melnikov's ethos on art after the the Twitter
Yeah.
debacle over the last few weeks.
Wait, what was this?
Oh, I don't know if maybe you guys didn't see this. There was a page from, I don't know if it was Venom or King in Black, one of the recent issues in that story, and whoever the artist was, it was like there was like 3 pages of talking head. It was kind of like head to camera, like one person like interview, sort of like a lot of panels on a page with just slight movement, interaction, changes, facial expressions. And Melnikov kind of tore it down as, oh, this is terrible. 3-4 pages of this shit. It's like, where's all the action? This is a superhero comic. And people, quite rightly, tore him a new one, being like, we got room for both things in comics. Don't need to, just be the one type. But, he's very clearly in the lots of action splash pages camp. Well, so that, lots of fights fits in with that, I guess.
Well, we'll see if I'll see what I think of his philosophy when I read this book come April.
We've had his art in a few books over the last few months, and I think we've all enjoyed it well enough.
Yeah, but I don't remember what books he's done before. I remember the name, so I know I've read or seen some of his art, but
he's done Buffy and Angel stuff a lot, Pete. So I'm sure you've seen it.
I probably have.
I think he did. I think he did all the opening Angel stuff with Hill.
Batman the Outsiders 13, Batman Superman Annual, Wonder Woman 754, Ginny Hex Special.
Yes, there's definitely examples here that I have read. That absolutely has been. But I don't remember any of the art in any of these books. I mean, the most notable one there is probably the start of the Angel book. I mean, and I don't remember it.
Frankly, however many years we are now into a comic book review, maybe you should remember the art a little bit better.
What? No, that's just a point I'm making. I'm saying that the art was not memorable. Not every art I look at is memorable. Do you know how many artists we see on a weekly basis? Some of them don't stick in my head. Some do and some don't.
I mean, lately it's been a whole lot versus traditionally because of the 80 pagers.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So no, I disagree with. I just disagree fundamentally with what Connor's saying here. He's trying to critique me for not remembering artists. I do remember art when it's knowable.
I mean, we always remember JR.
I mean, we do. Not for the good reasons.
Yeah,
there's no arguing with that.
It's like remembering a car wreck.
Yeah. The point I was trying to make was that, given that he said this now, I'll keep that in mind when I see his art again. But Connor took it as, oh, we've read books by him before. He's done art in books, but as if that's what I was trying to say, that I've never seen his art before. Why? What was with his?
I remember his name because it's Gleb. It's a very memorable first name.
I always remember it whenever Pete says it because he says it wrong every time.
Gleb? What's wrong with Gleb?
No, his surname. It's Melnikov, but you always say Melkinov, I think.
No, Melenkov.
All right, Melnikov. But either way, I know in my head, I'm like,
it transposes the N and the I.
Yeah.
Either way, sounds also like Iron Fist and Damien, and this is the Damien that I love. Him just going off, getting into shenanigans. So...
I'm interested to see, because this is the first time there'll be a solo Robin book that's not Tim.
No, there was Robin the Boy Wonder that Tomasi did. It's where the Bat Dragon came from. End of New 52.
Was that not just part of the Batman and Robin stuff?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it spun out of that, but it was a Robin book. It's the first Robin book since then, though.
Oh, fair enough. I'm obviously misremembering that one.
Yeah, I actually do like. I mean, I like Damien. I've typically liked Williamson. Obviously not everything he's done. His Flash run did have its spotty parts, but
yeah. But this feels to me more like his Batman Superman stuff we were enjoying. Like there's a level to this where like there's a secret underground fighting ring on his island. Like Pete said, it's like Mortal Kombat, but at DC. So like. Who are we getting showing up? It's not just going to be all new characters, right? Like, if you look at one of the covers, Ravager's on there. So I was like, is she there? Is Shiva going to be there? Are we going to get to see Cass? Like, what is this League of Lazarus? So that's exciting.
Good questions, but yeah. So a couple of good covers there for that one as well. Next up, we have a new miniseries called Batman: The Dark Knight. 6-issue mini, which will notably be written by Tom Taylor with art by Andy Kubert. So we have a Batman art coming from Taylor in the form of a mini. regular size, regular price. I'll read the description here. I'll skip this first part. That's just like, the legendary writers of blah blah blah. A horrific tragedy in the United Kingdom sends a very personal and deadly message to the Dark Knight, one that will draw Batman out of Gotham City to investigate. From the moment he lands in Europe, Batman will face a difficult investigation and unheard of adversaries and find the assistance of a partner once more, all in the hunt for a villain known as Equilibrium. New villains, new allies, a thrilling overseas adventure begins for the Dark Knight, starting with an extra size 26-page debut story. So it is still a regular price, but there's a few extra pages.
It's nice of them.
Yeah. So DC starting to feel like DC post, like, what was it, Brightest Day? Like,
Sure.
right after Blackest Night, they started rolling out like books that, like, we had a bunch of miniseries that we hadn't had before, and just I don't want to say weird stuff, but unusual. So like Batman in the UK, outside of Knight and Squire stories, I'm not,
I was gonna say I can't really think of any.
No,
except to do with Knight and Squire.
I was going to say this. If Taylor doesn't title one of the chapters, like one of the issues, An American Batman in London, I'm going to be upset.
Well, we should tweet that at him. You know, like, we don't want credit. Just like, hey, bud, just make sure what we expect.
Yes.
Yeah. Just
yes.
Hey.
He's got time. He's got time to change some like titles of chapters for later
titles,
in the run.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah.
And it could even be issue 5. We don't care.
Just it doesn't matter. It could be anything.
So I was a little disappointed when his project he was hyping ended up being Batman, right? But then I heard the premise. I was like, this is Batman I like, so I really can't complain, because this is Batman outside of Gotham doing something different.
Yeah, honestly, the thing
any Batman by Taylor is Batman that we like.
Yeah, honestly,
yeah, but
the thing that sticks out. The thing that sticks out to me about this, though, is that between this and Nightwing, it feels like Taylor's kind of climbing the ranks of the Bat family books. And it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up being, like, he's being groomed to be the one who takes over Batman from Tynion when Tynion's ready to go.
And that makes sense. I mean, he also did that Black Mask during the Year of the Villain. That was pretty readable. I don't know if either of you, I don't remember if either of you read it, but I know I did.
Yeah, it was tied.
I think we all did because it was Taylor, right?
Yeah, okay. it tied in heavily to Suicide Squad. So.
Well, eventually. We didn't know that at the time, though.
We didn't know at the time, but eventually it tied in, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I will say, I think Tynion mentioned recently he has a 3-year plan on Batman. Obviously, that's sales permitting that he doesn't get dragged off it, but he has a 3-year overarching plan split into individual yearly plans as well, in case he only gets, because they're renewing for a year at a time, basically.
Right.
So we've got a while yet before they need to replace him, again, barring sales dropping.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's going to happen anytime soon, but it kind of feels like he's like, maybe not second, because typically I suppose the writer detective is kind of the second, creative force on the Bat family books, but it feels like he's kind of one of the stable parts of the Bat family squad now, if you will.
Yeah.
Well, with Nightwing as well, he's going to be writing Babs as well in that book, so it definitely feels like he's pretty integral to the family as a whole, if not, Batman himself for the most part, this mini aside.
So yeah, that's Batman the Dark Knight issue 1. That's starting in April, 6 issues. So that is cool. Then next up here, I'll mention this, although I think we do have to actually talk about this and maybe start to think about how we consider covering these things. Because next up here we have the next Batman Second Son, which is I think it's the origin story. I'll read the text in a second, but if I remember rightly, I think it's an origin story. Yeah. For the next Batman, which of course is what's going on in Future State. And we were all very impressed with that first issue last week. So John Ridley's back writing it. We have art by Tony Akins, Travel Foreman, and Mark Morales. This is going in physical form. This is going to be 4 issues, but in digital, because it's a digital first, and in digital form, and the digital will start in the next couple of weeks, if not this week. In digital form, it's 12 issues. So each issue of the physical is 3 issues of the digital, each one being about 40 pages, which would mean that the digital is about 13 pages each, give or take. So the first physical issue is out in April, right? Hence it being in the Solicits. The digital chapters start rolling out, like I say, in February, or maybe this month. It was soon. It was very soon. It was much sooner than the physical book. Because I do think there's an interesting discussion to be had here about some digital books starting to feel a bit more important, like they're actually relevant to things going on. And probably the most important before now was the Deceased sort of tie-in series that Taylor was also writing.
Mhm.
And we looked at the first couple of those, and we kind of fell away very quickly because these digital chapters that are 10, 12 pages tended to feel like they didn't have enough to talk about.
Yeah.
But if they're going to start feeling more important, and they're going to start feeling like they're genuine continuations of things that we already like, and in the case of this one, we all loved that first issue last week. It does beg the question of how do we sort of fit this into some sort of format? Do we wait for when the physical issue comes out, and just sort of, even if we're reading it digitally, just wait and do the 3 issues when the physical one comes out? Because it's more of a conversation at that point. Because I do worry that the 10 or so pages is always going to feel like too little.
It's possible.
Yeah.
It starts February 23rd is the first digital issue. I don't even know what day of that week, day of the week that is in regards to when we record. Because I mean, that could be, for all I know, a Saturday, which would really be a problem. It's Tuesday. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it does raise this interesting thing where I really like the concept of this, and I want to read more of this next Batman from this writer. I'm not a big fan of the 10-page, 12-page chunks, though.
No, I'm okay waiting until physical.
Yeah.
Or one piece. You know what I mean? Versus the.
Yeah, I think it might be the new idea going forwards. Is what we'll do, even if we're reading it digitally, is to wait until the physical one comes out and read the 3 chapters as if we were reading the physical book.
Yeah. This has reminded me of like a sub story that kind of annoyed me this week, and because in this announcement of the digital series, they also announced the Batman by John Ridley Deluxe Edition, which will collect like all the stuff so far, from
all the Future State,
Future State, the Batman Black and White story that's coming up, the Joker Warzone one. But it says it'll also include a new original story by Ridley and Dustin Nguyen. And I'm like, that feels really shitty that there's an exclusive thing to that where if you bought all the other stuff already, you have to redo it.
Well,
and then
that's why they're having you get the extra.
Right. And I was like, okay, but at least I can kind of maybe justify double dipping because, okay, it's a deluxe edition, right? But then there was a second one where there's the Harley Quinn digital series that's been going recently.
Black, White, and Red.
Right. That's also getting physical editions soon. Not straight to trade. I think it's getting single print issues.
Right.
But they're also going to be including new stories that weren't released digitally in the single issues. And I'm like, that feels particularly shitty for anyone who got the digital first and then it's like, actually you didn't get the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, the trade's an interesting one because at least I suppose it's kind of like, okay, you've read all the singles digitally, and maybe you still might be interested in physical books, so you still buy some trades. It's maybe like an extra bonus if, okay, if you're going to rebuy the trade of this digital series, at least you get a bonus as well, so there's an extra incentive. But that's particularly weird, though, that the single physicals are also going to get bonus material over the digital singles. And, it's like, okay, digital arguably is the more important one because it's coming first and you get it exclusively early. But then they're saying, but the physical one's going to get extras that you don't get.
I also feel because
with that format in mind as well, right?
Yeah. Well, I feel it costs them more to produce a physical, right? Versus just a digital. So they feel like they're going to have to add something to that to justify instead of just printing it, which, I mean, business practice being what they are, as a fan, that kind of sucks. As like Connor said, you've already purchased this. If you're a big Harley Quinn fan, right? And you're buying red, whatever it was, black, white, and red, or black, it's black and white is the Batman one, right?
But black, white, and red.
Black, white, and red.
Yeah. I got hung up on the order. Anyways, why are you gonna have to buy another single issue after you've just bought it?
Yeah.
But again, it doesn't impact me. I'll say that much.
Yeah. Honestly, I mean, it would have to be something particularly special to even make me consider double dipping.
I believe the Harley one of the new exclusive stories is a Paul Dini one. Which, if you're a fan of Harley enough that you're buying this digital series, you're probably in for the Dini stories, right?
But I do feel like what's going to be the price difference between them? Is it a $3 book? So
I don't know exactly.
Yeah, so and all those issues, the digital first are all 99 cents, right?
Yeah, but at that point, it feels shitty that, okay, even like if they're releasing them in the trade or whatever,
right?
Why not just put these up save them till after the trade comes out if they're all right, you're exclusive to the trade, so then put them up after digitally anyway, so
Yeah,
so it's not digital first, but they can still get it without having to double dip on the entire
yeah, it's a
thing.
standalone for a couple of dollars. You can get the extra story. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's murky. It's just, you know,
it's almost the video game. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not in games like you guys are. But I remember hearing about like having to buy pieces of the game, so you know it's just not enough to get it at launch. Then they hit you with the expansion stuff.
Depending on what game you, no, that's a fair question on some games.
It's kind of, I'd say, honestly, a better comparison might just be when they release a movie over and over again, but they keep adding more cuts and more extras.
Yeah,
and
well,
more...
it's every time they release Back to the Future on Blu-ray or whatever the next one is, and they added never before seen Eric Stoltz footage, and I go to my wife, hey, she's like, you already have it on Blu-ray. All right, I will do some digging. Scrounge up this never before seen footage.
And it's like 3 seconds or something like that.
Yeah. But, you know, not enough to justify the $60 box set, but, you know, I needs it.
Just wait for the 16K hologram edition of the next purchase.
Fake.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's an interesting point that, you know, how they're incentivizing this, but I think for this, my gut instinct for the show is to say, okay, we'll do issue 1 of the physical book, even if we're reading it digitally. We'll just, you know, we'll read the 3 digital chunks that make up the first issue and talk about it that week.
Think it's almost like case by case. It's like I almost want to read the first digital issue and see, is there enough to talk about in this, or is it going to be okay? We'll wait, because there might be some of these where no, it's better to read it digitally. I just don't know.
I mean, there may be, but I think as long as they're because I don't know why they've decided that digital books should be only 10 pages. And even then, a lot of them, because of the formatting for the tablets or whatever, feel like 10 half pages rather than you know, full comic pages.
Yeah, I wonder how this is going to be formatted.
Yeah, so I think as long as they insist on them being much shorter than regular comics, it's a really awkward thing for us to cover because the format's just so kind of weird and chopped up. But given that they're bundling this as physical issues later, it does give us kind of okay, this is at least a blueprint to follow. In the meantime,
we haven't even got that with the Deceased book, have we? Like, it's still just strictly digital.
Yeah, they didn't do a physical. Maybe they'll do like just a straight to trade at some point.
Yeah, and if they do that's cool because I'm gonna need it for the rest of my Deceased. Yeah. But no, yeah, it was very even in that format. It's just they're pieces of a meal. It's like you can have a bite of that burrito, but you can't have the whole thing, and it's kind of irritating.
Because I mean, I love Taylor's writing. I mean, obviously we go on about it all the time, but you know, even with Taylor, I was reading those early Deceased chapters. I read well enough, but it was feeling kind of unfulfilling. I got to the end of one, and I was like, well, okay, that felt like a little bit of something, but So.
Also, a secondary conversation in this too about can DC stop spoiling themselves in Solicits? Because I don't want to spoil people that just don't know. Because please, you know,
we spoke about it in the book last week, and it's actually annoyed me more over the week since. Especially speaking to people who hadn't seen that news before, read the issue and had absolutely no clue, and then saw this announcement and were like, "Wait, what?" And it's completely, changed the impact of that story.
Yeah, to make it clear what we're talking about here, the first issue of Future State Batman did not actually make it clear. In fact, if anything, it intentionally misled, or at least left it 50-50 ambiguous as to who the Batman actually is. But the announcement before the book told us who it was, and this title, I mean, the next Batman's second son, even the title itself is kind of saying, hey, it's not the one you think.
It's right there in the text and in the headlines of articles of...
But it's also annoying when you read Future State Justice League and they go, we don't even know Batman's name. So clearly there was some edict, like, let's keep this a mystery. And yet they're throwing it in the solicits in headlines. And it's just, that annoys me because I just remember the big one was when Marvel spoiled Human Torch's death. That's something that Hickman was leading up to and was meant to be this emotional, and they led with it the week before.
It's so infuriating, isn't it?
And as someone that likes to take in stories as they happen, that sucks.
This one bothers me more, I think, because it's not even like it's a big death that they're worried about spoiling for other people. It's like they could have just not said anything. And the more it's gone on, the more it's annoyed me with, let's say, in that story where we think it felt 50-50 or ambiguous because we know who it actually is, so we're projecting the reality onto it. If you don't know, there is not a single hint of who it is. There is not a single
Right.
hint as opposed to it's this person. It plays it
Right.
completely straight if you don't have that projection going in.
Mhm.
And presumably that's the intention it was written with. So it really annoys me that they've just kind of ruined that like this.
All right. Well, in the interest of getting the solicits done within an hour, let's let's move on swiftly to these other books. So we got the Batman Scooby-Doo Mysteries issue 1. So this is a new. Is this a one shot? Is this an ongoing?
I think it's a new Scooby-Doo series because they closed up the last one. Not that long ago.
Scooby-Doo and Batman team up. I mean, I grew up with both of these things, so I can't not smile at the prospect of it. But
well, I mean, Batman crossed over on Scooby-Doo back in the cartoon Hanna-Barbera days. So like
they've had a bunch of comics like that over the last couple of years as well. But this one's, I think, the specific thing for this one is it's they time travel back to Batman Year One time.
Oh boy, Scoob's gonna get into some trouble.
Yeah, that's exactly what we expect. Not digital first being collected, I believe here is a physical release, and that is a Challenge of the Super Sons issue 1. This has already been coming out, I think, digitally. This is Tomasi writing again with Max Raynor on the art. So this will be 7 physical issues. This is the first of 7, so that's coming out in April. You mentioned it earlier, but the Harley Quinn Black, White, and Red trade paperback is next on the list here, so we can just go past that now.
I must have been right. I must have been straight to trade with the exclusive content, not singles.
There you go.
Yeah. And then we have Ruby Justice League issue 1, so that Ruby thing that I don't understand is back. So this is Margaret Bennett writing with Aneki on the art, 7 issues. And we'll move on because I don't know what it's saying, but it's just some weird anime thing or something, I don't know. And then, so on the actual rest of the DC books. Action Comics 1030, Philip Kennedy Johnson is still writing the book, but this is a new chapter. I assume at this point on we're switching to just arcs for each book rather than crossing over constantly.
I believe so, yeah, because this one mentions here War World Rising starts here, which feels very tied into what's going to be coming up in that Superman Future State issue, because I think that's all War World focused, right?
Yeah. I think it's even not even because the Future State issue doesn't even have Superman in the title. It's just War World something or something like that.
Oh, is it? Okay, and that's Philip Kennedy Johnson writing that one as well, I believe.
I think so. Yeah. The backup going forward in action is going to be a Midnighter. Well, at least this issue is. Maybe it's not going to be continuing. It could be a one and done, but Midnighter
that's what we're learning after Robin, right? Is that we thought that was going to be the backup, but it's just the backup in the first month, and the Batman and Detective books. So
clearly, some of them are going to be ongoing, like Justice League Dark. Some of them are going to be one and dones. Some of them might be like minis, where they have like 4 parts, but then they move on to something else.
Which I like. I feel that's how you should do backups, right?
What's really interesting on this backup is it's still referring to Future State. Like it talks about Midnighter trying to swap with the Future State Midnighter, like time travel stuff. I imagine. Interesting.
Interesting. Superman is up next here. This is Superman issue 30. They really should just put that back to legacy numbering at this point. It just feels kind of weird that it's down at 30 when, because it got renumbered for Bendis after Rebirth, and it just kind of feels like, just put it up to 700, 800 something, whatever it is.
They'll flip it when it gets to a landmark number.
Just go for it. The backup story is Tales of Metropolis, Return of Ambush Bug, which was Bendis hinted at this at the end of his run with the Ambush Bug return. Actually that's Superman in Action Comics. American Vampire 1976 issue 7 is coming out. Batman 107, obviously this is still Tynan. The backup is part 1 of Legend of the Ghostmaker, so this is an arc about Ghostmaker in the backup, which I'm sure excites everyone.
Skip.
Excites everyone dearly. But good news is, though, the art is Jorge Jimenez on the main story. Because the art's been up and down on Batman, depending on who it's been, so nice to hear. And March is busy with the other book, so March isn't on the...
He's stuck on Joker, I think.
Yes. Batman Black and White issue 5 is coming out. Again, whole host of creators. Jorge Jimenez, Mariko Tamaki, Jamal Campbell, Kieran Gillen, and Lee Weeks. That's the writing list for the record. Because some of those obviously are notably artists who are also on the artist list, but I'm making it clear that's the writer list. And then Jorge Jimenez, Emmanuel Pacino, Jamal Campbell, McKelvey, Lee Weeks. So, interesting.
Yeah, obviously on a personal level, this became my most anticipated book of the next few months because there's a Gillen and McKelvey story.
It's an
their first DC work.
It's
ever.
an eight-page story. Who cares?
Don't care. That's enough for me to start. This is the foot in the door like we got with Zdarsky like a year ago.
I hope it's good. Right? I'm not going to read it, admittedly. But if they end up writing more actual DC books, I hope it's good.
That's fair. I actually really like every member of the creative team on that issue. With a lot of these like anthology books, there's usually like one or two where I am not familiar with or I actively dislike. But this here is a really solid list of creators.
It's not bad. The first issue, I was really not hot on. I only really liked one of the stories. So, I mean, I kind of just opted out of black and white at that point. But maybe good. Speaking of anthologies, though, Batman Urban Legends issue 2 is up next. This is the anthology, all the Gotham-related family stuff. Katana's got a story. Barbara Gordon's got a story in this one, which I don't think she had in the first one. So that's kind of a neat switch, which again shows that not all the stories are multi-parters. Some of them are just one and dones.
That Katana story mentions the outside as well, and that's the same writer that is doing that one in the Batman issue we enjoyed last week,
which was really good. So that's good stuff. So I mean, it means that at least a couple of the stories out of this 60-page book, there's like 4 stories. At least there's a couple that we're already kind of invested in, which is good because one's like a Red Hood story, but it is Zdarsky, so it's kind of like
and Rosenberg's doing a Grifter story, which is obviously relevant this week.
Yeah, we'll be talking about the first part of that, or the first, not part, but the
chunk,
spiritual start.
Spiritual lead-in.
Yes. Later today. We got Batman Superman 17, more Jean Lun Yang, of course, on this book.
Seems like multiversal shenanigans.
It does indeed.
It's a really nice
kind
cover.
of thought. Yeah.
So that's cool. We got Batman vs Ra's al Ghul issue 6. That's finally coming to an end.
That's not done yet.
I know.
Still.
It's been going on for like 3 years, it feels like.
It's been going on longer than 3 Jokers got delayed. We got Batman Catwoman issue 5. Tom King book still going along nicely. Catwoman issue 30, more Ram V's book. Again, some of these obviously there's not much to say on, it's just the next book. Crime Syndicate number 2 is out. Of course, this is the mini establishing what the new Crime Syndicate's like in this post Infinite Frontier world. So that's nice. Hopefully we like the first issue in March. Detective Comics 1035, more Tamaki and Mora. Obviously we've got a Maraki and Mora story today, which is kind of again spiritual lead-in from Future State. We'll talk about that later, so that's neat.
And the new backup is a Huntress story, also by Tamaki.
Yeah, it's a 2-parter as well, so we know that's going to be 2 months, and then we'll move on to something else. Yeah. That's neat. I like Huntress actually. She doesn't get enough attention, so
not since New 52. Like
been a while.
A little bit at Rebirth with Birds of Prey, but not since. So it's good to see her name pop up.
Yeah, it's neat. The Dreaming Waking Hours issue 9 is coming out. Far Sector 11. So that is almost done. So theoretically that should be finishing in June.
Yes.
So we'll see if that comes to pass. We have The Flash 769. So was Jeremy Adams the writer on the March issue? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
I don't know off the top of my head.
After Future State, if that's what we're leading to, I'm going to take a break from Flash.
Well, I mean, what's interesting is that this issue, apparently this has turned into a Wally West book almost without anyone noticing. This is the solicit text for Flash 769.
Jeremy Adams was the writer in March.
But he's not the writer on the Future State issue, though, is he? I don't think he was.
I don't think so. That name doesn't sound familiar from last week.
So after an accident pushes Wally West into the time stream, the former Kid Flash lands in the body of his one-time partner Impulse. Now sprinting through the 30th century side by side with the mysterious and ridiculous Gold Beetle, Wally must uncover what's causing the destructive explosions that keep propelling him through the time and bodies of other speedsters.
Okay.
I don't like it.
You don't? What do you not like about it?
I don't hate it.
It's just like, I don't know.
I'll give it a chance.
Cake and eat it too.
Yeah, I want to give it a chance. I'll give it a chance.
I'm just checking that it wasn't the writer on Flash.
I don't think it was.
It was Brandon Vietti.
There you go.
Last week.
No, we're safe. Okay, it means it's maybe not terrible.
Yes. Yes. Although Flash's face on the variant cover looks atrocious.
Yeah.
Just putting that.
It does, but that's a variant cover.
Yeah. I do like seeing a Dominator again. That's nice.
Yeah, and Gold Beetle is presumably a cross between Booster Gold and Blue Beetle is the point here. So Matt should be on board.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm assuming.
I
assuming they somehow had a daughter together. I don't know how would that work, but they did.
Shenanigans.
So that's Flash 769, which, by the way, I don't know if they had it last month or maybe it just wasn't on the Solicit covers last month, but this new trade dress for all the books, like instead of the box with the number and the logo, it's now like this sort of circular design in the corner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that was there last time. I think you didn't notice it as much last time because on the top circle with DC, it actually kind of came out and said Infinite Frontier across that as well.
Ah, okay. So that's just probably the standard going forward now.
Yeah.
So Harley Quinn issue 2 is also out, which, if we're lucky, a patron will make Connor read because it's Riley Rosmo art still.
Please don't.
Joker issue 2 is coming out, which is obviously the Tynion book with Gillen March. And I'll say I probably said this last time, but I'll say it again. I am giving this a chance because it sounds like it's equally a more of a Jim Gordon story, but they're calling it the Joker because the Joker's name sells. So conceptually, I'm open to the idea.
That's fair, but it's March, so you know.
It is, but it may be good. Not the art, but
I was going to say it's a bold claim.
But overall, I might enjoy the story. I'll take the hit. Justice League 60. Second part of Bendis' new run on Justice League. And again, the backup is there, Justice League Dark continuing with Ram V. So, I'm
excited for this book.
I know you are.
Yeah.
I feel like you're in the middle, Matt, because you've been loving Justice League Dark. You're excited for Bendis Justice League. I'm excited for Bendis Justice League. Connor loves Justice League Dark.
So we're a spectrum.
Yes.
It's a shame because it means I won't be reading Justice League Dark going forward. Because it's a $5 book and I'm not paying that for 10 pages.
I understand that. Yes. Again, maybe Patreon will say no. I'm not going to make him read the Rosmo art. I'm going to make him read the Bendis book. I mean, there's possibility. Well,
you have to stop when you get to Justice League Dark.
They can't make me do that.
Honestly, that would almost be like a mercy thing. I'm going to make you read this thing you don't want to read, but the one perk is you'll have Justice League Dark still to read at the end of it. That would be an interesting.
Yeah.
That's funny though.
Ginger's
try to make him do it.
Ginger's choice. I love that though, Matt. You have to read Justice League. You can't read the Justice League Dark part. You have to stop before Justice League Dark. All right, Man Bat issue 3's coming out. Cool.
That's this is where Kumar's name.
Yes,
where I was familiar with it.
Praising it a lot last week, obviously.
Yeah.
On the Man Bat thing, I think this was solicited so long ago that because it was like a year ago when we first heard about it.
It was supposed to come out by October because I remember it was kind of like the Halloween.
It was pre-shut. It was pre-shutdown that this was solicited originally.
Yeah.
So like a year ago. Yeah. So obviously I hadn't heard of the name back then.
Right, but that's where it starts to be familiar. Where
you've just read it that many times.
Yeah.
Yes, so there you go. That's Man Bat issue 3. Nightwing 79, the hotly anticipated Tom Taylor ongoing, which we're all waiting for. Very good stuff.
That cover, what it does with that pinkish purple.
I know. And I love see. I mean, it looks good anyway, but just a little touch of having Batgirl's hand coming in from the side. That's what he's reaching for. So good.
Reaching out for really it's almost like, and it's almost like the creation of Adam, right? That famous.
I love that.
Yeah, I see it.
So,
but it's neat. So that's coming. Man, it's Redondo as well. I cannot wait for that Nightwing book. Rorschach issue 7's coming out, which is neat. Another Scooby-Doo issue 109. Cool. Sensational Wonder Woman issue 2. This is again a physical collection of digital first. Maybe we'll look at issue 1 in March now that we've maybe made that choice with the next Batman one.
Was Redondo on the first issue?
No, because he was tweeting about it this week, so it's only just been announced.
Gotcha.
So that's neat. So yeah, maybe when the first issue comes out in March, despite the fact that it is again a digital first that's been recollected, that may be the time to have a look at it, because I do actually like the idea of a second Wonder Woman book. So
apparently the first digital issue wasn't that great from what I've been told, but
but we could
Who
try it
knows?
ourselves.
But it's presumably anthology stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, but Redondo on art.
That helps. Yeah.
Yeah, Redondo's a big selling point for sure. Suicide Squad issue 2 is out, so that's cool.
Nope, don't like that.
Yeah, I looked at what this was, and I'm
Oh?
like, them, they've got mind controlling or something. They've got the power of Superboy under her control. This is Waller, and it's like, oh, I do not like this.
Connor Kent's been roped into. I don't know. This is almost mean to say because I don't have any ill will against Robbie Thompson, but he's kind of one of those names where he tends to be on books that I just have no interest in.
It's kind of the Steve Orlando. Where he's like, nothing against the person, but I've read enough to know it's not for me. So yeah. And then to see Connor on the cover, and I'm just like, nope.
Superman Red and Blue issue 2. Obviously, this is just a Superman version of black and white, but with red and blue instead. You get Chuck Brown, Robert Venditti, Stephanie Phillips, Dan Panosian, and Jason Howard writing. Dennis Cowan, Alita Martinez, Dan Panosian, Jason Howard, and others on the art. So, very cool. Interesting that Stephanie Phillips. Oh wait, no, no, she is usually a writer. I was going to say it's interesting she's in the writer list and not the artist list.
Using the Stephanie hands.
I am, yes, that's what I'm thinking of. Crisis of Infinite Stephanies. So
Oh,
it's just 2 people. 5.
And there's Stephanie Brown too. There's at least 3 Stephanies.
We have Crisis of Infinite Marguerites this week. So.
We do.
Yeah.
Swamp Thing issue 2. Ram V. Mike Perkins. Cool. Not much to say. Just covers glorious. The variant's even more glorious. Actually, I just clicked on it for the first time.
Oh, that Matina thing.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Matina Swamp Thing covers. Oh man, the world's too good to us sometimes. Sweet Tooth, the Return issue 6 is out. Teen Titans Academy issue 2, so we're diving into that stuff. Again, this is like the third time I've said this during the Solicits, but the spiritual first chapter we'll be talking about later today.
I think it's interesting because obviously when these Solicits came out last month, we hadn't seen any of the Future State stories yet, so we didn't really know what was going to have an impact, but now we're starting to get a bit more of an idea.
Truth and Justice issue 3 is out, the book that I keep remembering exists.
Yeah, I'm like, what is this? I'm looking at this. There's a Constantine thing. Like, what? I don't remember this at all.
Is that also Jonah Hex on the cover? Maybe it's not. I just saw the hat.
Midnight, I think.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Beast Me, Wonder Woman 771 is also out. I'm actually Wonder Woman's a really weird book coming at the Infinite Frontier. Given where Wonder Woman is, and given the fact that we're all falling in love with Yara Flor, the idea of having some sort of weird Diana book where technically Diana's not around in continuity right now is kind of an interesting.
Yara Flor is coming. That is a certainty.
Yeah,
right?
she is. Yeah. But it's a weird thing. Anyway, and the backup is about a younger Diana, so it's a young Diana.
It's the
story.
same as last month.
Yeah. So.
It's the first 10 minutes of 84.
Kind of, yeah.
I suppose it is, yes. And then you're out of the trades and the hardcovers and all that. So that's basically the Solicits, unless there's any particular collections that anyone wants to call out. But
just skimming in case there's anything buried, but I don't think so.
no, I think that's pretty much it. Interesting that Williamson's Flash and trade seems to be getting to volume 14 by the time it's done, which is impressive.
That's hefty, yeah.
Very impressive.
Yeah, so
It's a lot.
Not all of it good, admittedly, but it's a hefty run, no denying it.
It's something. I mean, he was the longest one. He outlasted Tom King. He was the one who was there the longest.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
It's impressive. So that's cool. But yeah, April's interesting. Obviously, this is a slow rollout of these new books being added. It's still quite a light list of books, which is maybe why we're a bit more inclined to try something like the reprints of the digital first stuff, especially when they look interesting. But it's still quite a light schedule in April. And assuming that there's a few things we don't like in March, like it wouldn't be that surprising if, say, the Suicide Squad book isn't back on our schedule for the following month.
I mean, I can think of at least one book that I'm not that interested in reading, for sure.
Well, Joker, I assume you're talking about? Or?
Well, there's that, but there's another one.
Okay.
I don't want to spoil it right now, but there are a handful of books where I'm like, not sure I need that.
Yeah. For the record, though, before we do move on to the books, I do want to say that regardless of what I'm going to say about any of the Future State books this week, I'm still going to try the first issue of every book in March. and see what they're like. Even if I didn't
I'm glad you made that commitment.
the lead in.
Yeah, I'm not making that commitment.
You can do that all you wish, but I will commit to it.
That said, I'll say what I have to say when we get to that book, and what it means for the book going forward, because that they're vastly different from what the Solicits.
Yeah, it's what I said last week. I don't think you can take these 2-issue minis necessarily as a sign of exactly what the ongoing books that these same teams are going to be on come.
I think it's a difference between whether you like the ideas or not, as opposed to if you like the actual writing or storytelling. There's a key difference, because I can judge in 1 or 2 issues on a writer or an artist if I like their style or not, but I maybe can't judge on I like this story or not. There's a big difference between those two things, I think.
There's a difference. I don't think it's murky though. I think there's almost like a weird burden of being shoved into something like Future State, and you have to come up with this weird future, and you have to do all this, because good writers can write a bad comic. It definitely happens. Good artists can have a bad issue. These things do happen, and I don't know if being forced into a weird 2-issue thing in a weird Future State, and I say Future State not as the title, but as like a concept that ultimately. I get why that might not be the best conditions to show this team's work.
Right, and I get where you're coming from, but also first impressions matter.
They do, but you can also be an intelligent and empathetic human being and know that it isn't always the most be-all and end-all, and you can give something a proper chance when it actually starts properly.